This video is dedicated to Deja Shade. A huge shout out to Deja Shade for supporting the channel. Edgar Markov versus Morophon the Boundless, Sisay Weatherlight Captain, and Firesong and Sunspeaker. We've got not an incredible hand, it's a very low curve in this deck, but we've got lands to play anything that we get into, so let's just keep that. And of course, speaking of a low curve, we get into another 6-drop, playing against 3 patrons of the channel by the way. Morophon the Boundless being piloted by eedi-H, Polar Bear Soup on Sisay, and Bugden is on Firesong and Sunspeaker. We might as well just play a tap land. And I've thrown a few up decks into this deck from Zendikar Rising. Actually, I haven't put the Triome in here. Don't know if I'd want the Triome in here. I don't want too many tap lands. Let's go for... yeah, Blood Crypt should be alright. Firesong just getting out a tap land, a Path of Ancestry over here, and then Fertile Ground. We'll make them add an additional 1 mana of any colour when they tap the forest. We draw into... alright, Mana Crypt, that makes up for the big spells that we're drawing into. So, let's play the Scrubland. And I think in that case we play the Rakish Air. Yeah, let's get Rakish Air into play. And we'll start trying to get plus counters on that as quickly as possible. Make ourselves a Vampire token as well. And more fast mana in Sol Ring from the Morophon player. Don't know what tribe they're playing yet, we might find out here. No, it is a Blood Moon, alright. So, going for a pretty spiky play, our opponent. D-Spark won't get rid of it, and we can't go for D-Spark anyway. Let's just go for the Prismatic Vista, and we are forced at this point to go in at the Blood Moon player. They obviously deal damage, so they'll get plus counters on them. More fast mana, Sol Ring from the Boros player. Anyway, discarding a Plains to Magmatic Insight, we'll draw them into a couple of cards. Then Swords to Plowshares going on to our Vampire, so yeah, I was hoping for a fast game here, but it looks like it's going to be a pretty slow and interactive one. Then a Vernal Bloom. Now we'll just have to hope to get into our basics, of which we don't have very many in the deck. Yeah, Necropotence won't do it. We'll just drop a land, and we'll just have to hope that someone else removes it, but I imagine we'll be seeing the Blood Moon for the rest of the game here, so we'll probably just F16 through the rest of the game. Firesong and Sunspeaker coming down for Bugden. Now Skyshroud Claim from Sisay will help them fix their mana. They get into some Triomes, which come down as mountains, so they do come in untapped because they don't have any abilities. Harmonise from Juggalo into Nature's Law. Then that taps down for 2 mana. They've got 7 cards left in hand, and they grab themselves an Abundant Growth, which will allow them to tap this for any 1 colour. Get themselves into a basic Plains as well. And then also a Vessel of Nascency. Alright, well there's a basic at least. Yeah, there's nothing we can do with it apart from cast the Vampire, so we'll do that. And then we'll continue to go in at the Blood Moon player. And continue to just F6. It's hurting the Sisay player as well, so I'm hoping that Polar Bear is going to be wanting to get rid of Blood Moon as well, because they're having their own land switched off as well. I don't imagine the Boros player is looking to get rid of it anytime soon. It's slowing the game down enough for them to get their expensive commander into play. Ritual of Rejuvenation is just gain 4 life and draw a card. And then they aim the removal at our flyer. And then it is Mark of Asylum. Prevent all non-combat damage that will be dealt to creatures you control. So that's for the big damage spells like Blasphemous Act, the big X spells and stuff like that. And in for World Spineworm. So this is probably Worm Tribal from the Morophon player. And okay, Skull Clamp could help us. Let's just get rid of one of those vampires. Not even going to bother swinging in with it. Clifftop Retreat doesn't help us. Can't get into that vampire due to the Blood Moon, so yeah, we'll just drop it. Put the clamp on there and pass the turn. Path to Exile from the Boros player, going straight on to World Spineworm. And they're down to 1 card in hand now. Then the 4/6 commander goes over to Captain Sisay. Now the Vessel of Nascency is being cracked. Reveal the top 4 cards, put an artifact creature, enchantment land or planeswalker from among them. Oh, they went for Voyaging Satyr, which is, yeah, that one. So got the Voyaging Satyr off of cracking the enchantment. Then Sifter Worm. Scry 3, reveal the top card, gain life equal to the CMC. It's a 7/7 with trample, by the way. Lightning Greaves, well, at least we can play it. I think we're just holding up the vampire so that we can potentially block with it and draw some cards. Skull Clamp could be our means out of this one. There we go, a big X spell coming down, dodging the Blood Moon entirely because there's no reason for them to go after Blood Moon. Well, there's our means out of this, I would have thought. Skull Clamp going down. Paradox Haze goes down, so we don't get to see what their aim was with that. They aim for Vernal Bloom, the Sol Ring, and Fertile Ground over here. We lost our Lightning Greaves as well. Sisay just passed through the turn. Swiftfoot Boots for the Worms player. And just looking through Polar Bear Soup's graveyard here, they have discarded a Sanctum of Stonefangs to hand size, so it's obviously a Shrines deck that they've gone for. That's a 7/7, yep, coming in at us. I would be perfectly happy to end this game at this point. We're just watching our opponent play. Toxic Deluge, I mean, yeah, I don't really care about casting a Toxic Deluge, to be honest. Now, Firesong and Sunspeaker continuing to go in over at Sisay. And they're tapping out all of their mana because they've only got 1 card left in hand. There we go, removal, Croson Grip going on to the Blood Moon. Maybe we can finally get this game going. Turn 9, and pretty much nothing's happened so far. You'd expect to be ending the game around turn 9. And Collective Restraint coming down. Creatures can't attack you unless their controller pays X for each creature they control that's attacking you, where X is the number of basic land types that you control. So basically, you have to pay 5 per creature that's swinging in. We do have a D-Spark for that. This is probably some kind of Enchantress build. So let's go for D-Spark onto that and try and encourage the worm over here. No, still continuing to come in at us anyway. Let's go for Prismatic Vista. And we'll grab ourselves a white source here, I think. And I'm thinking we have to go in for Toxic Deluge here because it looks as though the worms are still going to keep coming in at us. Can we play this for 3 mana? Yes, we can. I think that's what we go for here. Yeah, let's get some damage onto our opponents first. Aim ourselves at the Blood Moon player. That goes through, so let's cast ourselves an Hour of Revelation. And that should set both players back nicely. Gets rid of the haste as well. Then are we going to be able to get into enough life gain for the Necropotents? I think we just need to try and look at new cards as best we can. Just going to fill up our hand. We'll just exile 3 cards there. Alright, more fast mana in the Sol Ring. There's the life gain we want, so we'd just like to get into some haste at this point. Won't get into it next turn, unfortunately. Revitalise is another cantrip. Alright, a Joyra, Weatherlight Captain coming in. Makes historic spells cantrip. And it's funny actually, from a lore standpoint, there's going to be 2 competing Weatherlight Captains in play. Nissa's Pilgrimage will allow Juggalo to search for some basics. And not fixing mana, surprisingly. There's still no blue or red mana over here. Okay, so it's back round to our turn. Let's drop a Sol Ring first of all. And then I think it might be worth going for the Sorin, actually, because... Well, it's not life gain, is it? Well, it could be life gain if we decide to get rid of Joyra. Yeah, let's actually go for that. So we'll shoot Joyra for 3, gain ourselves 3 life. Okina, Temple of Grandfathers, gives a target legendary creature +1/+1. Anyway, we'll still gain the life, which is the main thing we were concerned with. Let's go Viscera Seer and get ourselves into a free vampire, which we can block and sack with in order to get the scry going. And then we'll immediately pay that 3 life that we gained into Necropotence. And I'd really like to see some haste on a Lightning Greaves or a Fervor or something. We'll get a land at least. And Crib Swap could come in handy. Oh, Felidar Sovereign. Yeah, we're going to have to remove that with our Crib Swap, I think. See if anyone else wants to do it first. Now, the 3/3 Joyra going in towards the, well, 5 colour player, but only 3 colours in play. Morophon can play all 5 colours. Oh, and I tried to remove auto yields before the Wrath of God. Could have sacrificed and gone for some scries with Viscera Seer there, but don't suppose it matters. Praetor's Council, so that might mean another Blood Moon. Praetor's Council coming into play. If we can get ourselves into another white source, dropping the Soul Ring again. If we can get ourselves into another white source, or Steer Command could deal with that. So now we know they've got Blood Moon. No red mana still, though. They haven't gotten into the basics there, like I said. Alright, Chrome Mox should be able to do it for them. Unless they put the Blood Moon under there. They put Nissa's Pilgrimage under there, so not using that to get themselves into the red mana for the Blood Moon. That's plus Sorin. And it's another non-basic. I think we've only got about 5 basics in the deck, something like that. Let's go Nighthawk Scavenger. And then I think might be an idea to go for our commander as well, just because it's got haste. And we can start laying even more damage onto the Blood Moon player. So we'll swing in over to the right here. Is anyone going to wipe the board here? I'm just hoping we can swing in with this and gain some life. So yeah, let's be a little bit more aggressive with the Necropotence. We'll go down to 10. I just really want to get into a basic planes if we can. Alright, there's a Vampiric Tutor, which could get us into one if we're desperate. Just a Mind Stone coming down from the Boros player. They've been slowed right down since our, what is it called? Hour of Revelation. Losing a lot of mana there. 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. They will be able to get their commander back into play next turn at least. Finally seeing Sisay, Weatherlight Captain. Surprisingly, haven't seen her yet. And until the Blood Moon comes back in, I think they've got all the colours they need. Yeah, I think they have anyway. Then Sterling Grove, so definitely some kind of Enchantress build with the Sanctums, I would think. Then Vampiric Tutor from Morophon. 15 cards in hand, but they'll obviously be able to dictate what they tutor for here. Might be a red land that they go after. So there we go, Vernal Bloom coming down again. That is 12 mana on the green lands. Fertile Ground coming back into play, so that will fix their colours. Goes on the Swamp. So there we go, the Swiftfoot Boots coming down again. So we have to worry about haste. And it's a Nova Blast Worm. When it attacks, destroy all other creatures, so they could get rid of our Sorin here. I think we're just going to be forced to use the Austere Command, unfortunately. Put a stop on our upkeep in case we want to go for the Vamp Tutor. Then Harmonise will draw them into 3 cards. They'll have to discard down to hand size here at the end of the turn. And continuing to come in at us, so that will destroy all other creatures. And we're not going to be able to block with the Vampire Nighthawk. This is why haste is so important nowadays in Commander, because it's just gotten so fast. Although, this game hasn't been fast, has it? It's been the total opposite. We will return that to the command zone. We're going to get hit for 7. And we plummet down to 3. And of course, we're not going to draw into a card thanks to Necropotence, so Vampiric Tutor isn't going to do what I wanted it to. Yeah, we're going to be forced to go for the Austere Command here, I think. Let's reveal with Sorin. Okay, Felidar Retreat. Maybe should have waited on that land drop. Let's go for Destroy all artifacts and big creatures, I think. Cracking the Mind Stone in response before it gets blown up. Yeah, a life gain creature with Forerunner of Insight, I think, would be alright. And as usual, gets us into a free token. And maybe Sangromancer would do us some good. Anything with lifelink on it. Although, again, we don't have the haste, do we? We could always search for haste with Vamp Tutor, though. Yeah, I'm thinking Sangromancer is going to be the means of life gain we want. A Lender is going to be a bit too slow. Yeah, I think we'll go Sangromancer here and just keep our fingers crossed. Haunt of Hightower, if we had haste, would be the best thing, but Sangromancer can gain us life without attacking. Now an Everflowing Chalice, another mana rock from Firesong and Sunspeaker, being kicked 3 times, so we'll obviously tap for 3 mana. And then a Well of Lost Dreams as well, that could be a means of them refilling their hand. It'll take them a few turns to do that though. Sterling Grove being sacrificed for the Tutor effect. And there we go, Sanctum of All, the shrine to build around. It'd be cool at some point if we went back to Kamigawa or something, if they made an actual commander that could do something with shrines, allow you to search for a card named Sanctum of All or something like that. Because you can't actually run this as your commander, obviously. Lithoform Engine, that should be able to get some good stuff going. Abundant Growth coming down again. Another tutor coming from Morophon, a Grim Tutor this time. So the card goes straight into hand. Then dropping a Greater Good, so I imagine they can go in for a big worm creature. Sacrifice that for even more card draw. Still got 14 cards in hand over here. Then playing their Morophon. And then tapping out for Fist of Suns, which means you can cast Wooburg for spells. Then Engulfing Slagworm, which is when it blocks or is blocked by a creature, destroy the creature, gain life equal to the toughness. And then sacrificing the Trample creature, which is good for us. I was just thinking we'll have to hold up Crib Swap for that. Then sacrificing the Engulfing Slagworm as well. They're just discarding a bunch of lands to that. Yeah, discarding a bunch of lands on the second one as well. Up to 21 cards in hand. Now then, I think the first thing we want to do is gain some life with Sorin so that we can actually make use of the Vamp Tutor. Yeah, so let's leave Sorin at 1 loyalty. I think the worms are going to come in at us anyway if they do get into some haste. And then we'll go for Sangromancer. Keep our fingers crossed that it stays in play. Let's go Vamp Tutor here. And I think we're just going to have to go in for the Wheel of Fortune. 1, to try and get this game over with, but 2, to gain some life. So yeah, let's go Wheel of Fortune. And now we can hold up Crib Swap. We can pay a life into Necropotence for the Wheel of Fortune. And we'll just have to hold ourselves at... Yeah, we'll hold ourselves at 3 life, I think. Stranglehold, well, that's coming down just in the nick of time. Right after the Vampiric Tutor. Sanctum of All is going to trigger at the beginning of the turn. And it's their library that they're searching through. Oh no, it's not. They went through the graveyard, so Sanctum of Stone Fangs. And that is each opponent loses X life and you gain X, where X is the number of shrines you control. Essence Warden, some life gain for them. And sacrificing their commander, that will gain us 3 life, which I don't mind one bit. Not enough to keep us in it, but it's better than teetering at 1. So I think they're just fishing for a combo at this point. And then discarding cards, forgot about that. So they have to discard 3 cards with Greater Good. That means we gain even more life with the Sangromancer. Going for Vessel of Nascency again, so definitely fishing for something. And sacrificing the Vessel straight away. And they revealed Marlon of the Morn Song into their hand. I don't know what that is. Binning some lands and a Demonic Tutor. Getting into Roshin Meanderer without haste, thankfully. And Sakura Tribe Elder. And there it is. Marilyn, the Morn Song. Dropping a Mana Vault as well. I think we're going to use the Crib Swap on the Marilyn, because like I said, it is part of a combo, and I'm guessing that they want to do something with worms or something. I don't know. But with it being such a potent card, it is something that I want to go after here. So surprisingly, surviving until the next turn. Let's go Crib Swap onto that thing. That will trigger the Edgar Markov, because this does count as a vampire, thanks to it having Changeling. Now, like I say, making it round to our turn again, we've got 3 mana, then it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 held up. Yeah, I think we just go straight in for the Wheel of Fortune here. And we'll just have to hope that the Sisay player doesn't counter it. They do have mana held up. Alright, that's interesting. Going for Raf Capuchin. Yeah, that's a good one to have. So going for that in response. And that will give their historic spells flash. So they'll be able to cast their Sanctums at instant speed. Wouldn't have thought they'd be bothered about going for Wheel of Fortune or countering Wheel of Fortune, because the Sanctum... Okay, it's not expanding this for some reason. There we go. This allows them to search through graveyards as well, so even if they discard a bunch of shrines here, they'll be able to get them back out with the Sanctum of Eternity, so we'll see what they decide to do here. I'm assuming they're allowing it because they went for the Wrath. And then Shalai, Voice of Plenty as well. Veto, Thorn of the Dusk Rose coming in. That goes really well with the Sanctum. The Black Sanctum, that is, that drains. Seems as though we're going to gain a lot of life here, thanks to our Sangromancer, though. It's 19, 20, 23 cards that are going to get discarded from our opponents. So 23 times 3. Which is, what, 69? Anyway, Necropotence has us exile those 2 cards that we discarded. Now, the game is really lagging here, unfortunately. The longer a game goes on Magic Online, the more you have to worry about the game crashing. Oh, and I spot a Captivating Vampire there. So, do we want to concentrate on stealing Veto? Oh, we'd have to go for Shalai first, wouldn't we? We've got the haste that we wanted in Fervour. So there we are, jumping up to 82 life. That switches our Necropotence back on. Pretty damn good, considering we were hovering at 1 a minute ago. Let's plus on Sorin. Okay, there's Falconwrath Aristocrat. We don't have much in ways of mana, unfortunately. Can we go Gilded Lotus here? Yeah, we can go Gilded Lotus into Captivating Vampire. Let's try to get our Captivating Vampire online. Then we'll go for the Vampire of the Dire Moon as well. Alright, and now we can hold up 5 creatures here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 creatures here, so we just swing in with the White Vampire over at Morophon. And then we can be pretty heavy-handed with the Necropotence, I think. Go for 7 into Necropotence. Wouldn't have gotten into another land for a good few turns there. There we are. Hour of Devastation is 5 damage to everything. Yeah, if only we had the Aristocrat stuff in play now, we could have hurt our opponent. We're going to gain more life from the Sangromancer at least. They're going to go down some cards to that. Sacrificing the Roshin will take them up a card. So just sacrificing all of their stuff. I'm not sure. They were sacrificing small creatures there, so I'm not sure they're going to be able to keep any of the cards that are in their hand. They'll have to discard 3, 6, 9, 12. They're at 7 cards, and I think they're only going to draw 1, 2, 3. It'll be 7 from the Roshin in total. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. We'll soon find out. And Sangromancer gaining us even more life thanks to seeing these creatures die. So we go up to 132 life. Then Authority of the Consul, speaking of life gain. I bet the client's gonna crash before the game's over. Then round to Polar Bear's turn. Sanctum of All will trigger. Like I said, they've got the damage dealing Sanctuary in the bin. And that's the one they go for. Then Honden of Cleansing Fire is some life gain. So we're definitely going to have to start worrying about the Shrine player now. Ooh, Academy Rector is a good one. They gain some life from Well of Lost Dreams, so they'll be able to draw a card. They are at 6 cards in hand now, thanks to our wheel and Authority of the Consuls, along with the Well of Lost Dreams over here. Replaying Morophon again. Maybe we just have to try and rely on the aristocrats. I think we'll still go in for the big creatures here. It saves us 3 mana. There's no point in a further if we're just going to have our creatures come in tapped. So let's drop a Plains. Go for Cruel Celebrant. I think we just go Haunt of Hightower and Blood Artist here, because hopefully we'll be able to swing in with Haunt of Hightower next turn. Then we'll sink 10 life into Necropotence, I think. Or do we just go crazy and go for like 15 or something? I don't think there's any real big play that we're desperate for. We just want to be able to attack. So maybe, I don't know if we have Wear and Tear in here, maybe getting rid of the Lithoform engine and the Authority of the Consuls would be the way to go. But like I say, I'm not sure if we have too much removal in this deck, thanks to having to ram it full of vampires. And then praying that the client doesn't crash, adding something to the stack. I wish they would have waited for the Necropotence there. Anyway, Price of Progress coming from the Boros player. You really don't want to add things to big stacks like that, because it's just going to make the client struggle, because that adds a Haunt of Hightower trigger. Anyway, knocking Polar Bear Soup down to 17. And it knocks us down to 101. And then we've got Olivia for stealing stuff as well. And the Malakir Blood Witch is more drain. A Smothering Tide, that should sort out their mana issues. Luckily we've used our wheel already. And at the end of the Boros player's turn, the Sanctum player is holding up mana, so going in for something here maybe. Won't be a tutor, like I said, the Stranglehold keeps us off tutors. Yeah, and that might have been what they were going for. They did tap down black mana there, so it might be. They have a Vamp Tutor, I don't know if we've seen one from them yet. Anyway, they'll gain some life and deal some damage here. Dealing damage to one of our aristocrat creatures. Might have to reanimate that one instead of the Captivating Vampire. And look at that, it's just bugging out like crazy. I'll be very surprised if we get a satisfying conclusion to this game. That is just putting the Cruel Celebrant on the stack. Anyway, they jump up to 23, thanks to their White Sanctum. And then they'll gain even more life from the Sanctum of Stone Fangs. Playing out a Minamo, untap a target legendary permanent. That is one that is, that's probably one of the scarier ones. Draw X cards, where X is the number of shrines you control. Another Sanctum, this one is going to allow you to discard a land card or a shrine card, and it deals X damage to a creature or planeswalker. Greater Good, sacrificing a creature. Couldn't see what creature they actually sacrificed there. I think we just need to start getting rid of players at this point before the client just crashes altogether, so I'm going to point the Blood Artist at Juggalo. And Haunt of Hightower will get a plus counter on it. And there we are, Morophon the Boundless coming in. 6 cards in our opponent's hand. And they can cast Worms for free. Heartbeat of Spring. Whenever a player taps a land for mana, they get twice as much mana. Helm of the Host. Going on to the Morophon. That will make a copy of the Morophon, and then they can dig further with the Greater Good. So at the beginning of combat, they get a copy of their commander. Okay, well, it's getting round to the end of the turn now, so let's see if they've got any counter magic for protecting their Academy Rector. If I'm going to swing into that, I don't want them to have it die for obvious reasons. Heroic Intervention will give all of their stuff indestructible and hexproof, so we might have to swing into it. They've got 1 card in hand that they will be forced to discard to the Haunt of Hightower. So I just need to hope that the Boros player doesn't interfere with us getting rid of the Shrines player. Might be able to get rid of 2 of these players here. Go for Cordial Vampire. And whenever a creature's been coming into play, the Boros player has been putting life into the Well of Lost Dreams. So keeping themselves in cards over there. I'm just trying to make as many vampires as possible for the Malakir Blood Witch. But it doesn't seem as though they've got any counter spells here. The Boros player is going for something. Please don't get rid of our creatures. I don't mind if we lose, but I do want to finish the game. It's a big spell, whatever they're going for. Oh, really? Oh, jeez. What is that? Yeah, it deals the damage to players at least. It gets rid of 1 player. We could have gotten rid of 2 players there. If you'd just let us swing in over here, then we could have gotten rid of a few players. Alright. Well, we keep our Haunt of Hightower at least. Yeah, okay. I think that's an ill-timed fault line, to be honest. Look at where we're swinging in first before you go for something like that. So, 1 player finally goes down. And we'll try not to break the client with all these triggers. That is only 2, so that can go on first. But they do have something with their last card, seemingly. It is a D-Spark, probably going on Haunt of Hightower. I can't see where it's going. Ah, no, going on to the Stranglehold, so they do want that Academy Rector. And can they copy the trigger? Copy an activated or triggered ability. Yeah, there we go. So that's why I was worried about the Academy Rector. Obviously didn't know about the D-Spark, but it's always worth worrying about an Academy Rector. Oh, it's the D-Spark there. Copying, not the Academy Rector, alright. So probably going after the Haunt of Hightower with that. Oh, not going after our Haunt, going after the Smothering Tithe. I think we're going to have exactly enough with the Haunt of Hightower if we're able to get through. Obviously it all depends on what they go for with the tutor here. Yeah. They just went for a Grasp of Fate. Not the worst Academy Rector that you could hope for, but yeah, it does keep them in the game for another turn. Alright, so draining Polar Bear down to 9. And we'll get the Falconwrath Aristocrat into play. Now, maybe we have to go for Cruel Celebrant. There might be another board wipe. I'm not sure what the Boros player is going to do. That's the problem. And any problem creature is just going to get shot by a Shrine. So let's just play out the Cruel Celebrant, I think. And we'll just try and get some kind of Aristocrat win going. We can't play out our Malakir Blood Witch, unfortunately. If we could, then we'd be able to get rid of this player still, I think. Yeah, but we can't. So let's just drop the Fervor. We'll pay into Necropotence again, and we are really behind on the clock. It's been lagging for well over half the game now for us. Alright, Emeria Shepherd. I don't think they've made a land yet. Shouldn't make a land before Emeria Shepherd. They get a card back to hand with Sacred Foundry. Oh no, that is a Plains. That's a shock land, so they'll get something back into play straight away. Might just go for Felidar Sovereign. Nope, they go for the Pristine Talisman. And then in for Burnished Heart, so continuing to ramp. And then Survival Cache. Gain 2 life, then if you have more life than an opponent, draw a card. That has rebound, so it'll come back next turn. Now the Shrines are going to go crazy. Yeah, I was really hoping that Bugden would be able to deal some damage to Polar Bear. And with them on the stack like that, they go for Lithoform Engine. Looks like they are targeting the Sanctum of All. They do have the blue card draw Shrine in play as well, by the way, so I'd be very surprised if we managed to get rid of the Sanctum of All player at this point, because they're going to refill their hand here, and they get a couple of tutors. Going for the green one, and that is adding mana at their pre-combat phase. Then the other white one is tap a target creature for 6 mana, but it casts 1 less to activate for each shrine you control, so that's going to be a single white mana. so that stops us winning in combat. They get rid of our Cruel Celebrant. Did want to sacrifice that in response, but I have auto yields up because I'm so low on the clock. So look at that, they jump up to 40 life. Yeah, could have had rid of him. Then jumping up to 56 life thanks to the Black Sanctum, having all of their stuff doubled up. Up to 15 cards in hand, 56 life and a whole heap of mana. So it is Polar Bears to win at this point. Now Agent of Erebos comes down. They probably exile our graveyard because we're in black. No, going after the Boros player's graveyard actually. And in response, cracking the Burnished Heart to get themselves into some planes so that they can save some things out of the graveyard. Saving their Mark of Asylum. And they grab their Felidar Sovereign as well, which they're nowhere near thanks to all the damage that was dealt to them from the shrines. Now the Honden that will get them into 1/1 colourless spirit creatures per shrine they control. That will trigger the Agent of Erebos, so that goes after our graveyard now. Then the Great Henge. And then after that they've gone for Righteous Aura, which is white, pay 2 life. The next time a source would deal... Yeah, the next time a source would deal damage to you, prevent that damage. I mean, they've won it at this point. Nature's Law after that. Hannah Ship's Navigator coming down now with no... the zoom started working again. Alright, that's good. Yeah, Hannah Ship's Navigator coming in tapped. Didn't have haste anyway. Okay, getting round to our turn. 7 cards in hand. We will not draw. We can get ourselves a Cavern of Souls, naming Vampire, obviously. That will get us into Changeling Outcast, uncounterable. And at this point, I'm just going to try and lay on as much damage with the Malakir Blood Witch onto the Boros player as possible to allow the Shrine player to go through to win it as quickly as possible. Is it worth with the haste? In fact, let's go Anguished Unmaking onto that thing. I'm not even planning my turns out at this point. Yeah, lagging like crazy, trying to put the last piece of mana into Malakir Blood Witch, and it's taken about 30 seconds so far. There we go, eventually get there. Oh, and it's each opponent with Malakir Blood Witch, alright, so we don't point that at the Boros player anyway. So we swing everything in at Bugden. They are going to sacrifice some treasures in response, so they've clearly got something they want to do here, maybe Teferi's Protection. No, 4 damage to any target, going after the Menace creature, so we might as well sack that. And that will give the Falconwrath Aristocrat indestructible. They block a token with the Felidar Sovereign. Block another 1/1 with the Emeria Shepherd. They'll gain 4 life, but they're going to lose 8, 9 life. So hopefully that will help the Shrine player to take them out. We are going to time out. Alright, and then something going on in response over here. X damage onto the Felidar. And what did they discard to do that? Got rid of a forest. If I had an infinite amount of time here, or basically more than 3 minutes, I could always go for a Hail Mary with Necropotence, try and get into Merciless Eviction to get rid of the enchantments, but I dare say Polar Bear Soup has Counter Magic held up for that anyway. And yeah, we pretty much just get into a bunch more mana. The Stromkirk Captain, that's a pretty good one. Turning sideways in at them, so yeah, just trying to win through combat and as much damage as possible. Might be that they go for a board wipe, so they're just trying to deal some damage and gain some life here. Now Mind's Eye for even more card draw. I think that might be a bit too slow for them though. For all the card draw that they've had, they don't seem to have done all that much with it. Then they tap the Felidar Sovereign with the Sanctum of Tranquil Light. No, Chaos Warp going on to the legendary shrine over here. So that stops all their stuff triggering twice at least. Don't know what they got into there. Arid Mesa, that's about as good a Chaos Warp as you could hope for, flipping into a land. They crack the Arid Mesa, which shuffles their library around. There's every chance they could draw into the Sanctum again straight away. curiously going for the Honden of Infinite Rage onto us to deal damage to us. We're going to time out in 2 minutes, so yeah, we're obviously still worried about what we can do in 2 minutes. Anyway, they get themselves into 8 spirit tokens, and they'll gain a lot of life from the, going up to 56 with the White Honden. Lithoform Engine is copying the Black Sanctum of Stone Fangs, which is the Drain one. Takes the Boros player down to 18. A Citizen Champion goes with the Enchantress theme very nicely. That'll get its first plus counter from the Great Henge for another card draw. And Boros player might go up to 13 cards here. Nope, just leaving it at 12. Holding up 3 mana smells like a Teferi's Protection to me, but I've been saying that for the past couple of turns now, so maybe not. I think, Emergent Ultimatum coming from the Shrine player. Dualcaster Mage is going to copy that, so the Boros player will get one of these as well. Search for 3 mono-coloured cards with different names, mono-coloured cards, and put them into play. What was I saying? Saying that he lost connection, then joined again, so I'm guessing that Polar Bear's just trying to restart the client to get it going again, but looks like this is how it ends. I'm amazed that the client didn't crash before now, to be honest. We can ask Bugden if he actually had any cards in hand that could have helped him get out of it. Maybe he had Enchantment, Exile, or Destruction, but I dare say with that many cards in hand, Polar Bear would have had some counter magic for that. So yeah, looking as though this is how this game is going to end. I will fast forward it from here and we'll see if anything occurs. Well, that was tortuous. I was just talking to Cretin at the end of the video. I think I'm just going to upload that little conversation that we had as a separate video just for you to have a bit of a laugh at, hopefully. That was a tortuous game, and hopefully you all got some enjoyment from it anyway. If this video doesn't deserve a thumbs up and a subscribe, then I don't know what does. It is over 3 hours, and I have to edit it and upload it along with all the other videos yet, so yeah, I think a thumbs up and a subscribe is well deserved there. Hopefully you all enjoyed this video anyway. I will hopefully be able to get it down to as few a small an amount of time as possible so that people actually click it. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. Like I said, I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you for watching.